Coming Saturday, Chips goes roller disco with over 50 of Hollywood's greatest stars on a special 2-hour premiere.
Ah, showbiz, I love it.
Then, Robert Conrad outbonds Bond in A Man Called Sloan as he battles an army of killer robots out to destroy the world.
Well, it keeps me off the streets.
It's Super Action Saturday.
Battle of the Network shows. Join Rick Brooks and Mike Kogel as they explore the TV of the 70s and 80s through hand-picked episodes of their favorite and not-so-favorite series.
Welcome to another episode of Battle of the Network shows. Today we're going to talk about a two-part episode of CHiPs.
Yeah, this was the episode Roller Disco from September 22nd, 1979, Saturday night on NBC. And it actually aired as a 2-hour season premiere, I believe. And yeah, Roller Disco Parts 1 and Part 2. And CHiPs was an interesting show. It was a hit for NBC. It was one of the best things on NBC, but it was NBC. And this was, a down point in NBC's history, sort of the late 70s, early 80s when this was, and CHiPs could be a hit by the NBC standards. It wasn't really a super smash. I think it was well known and a show of its time, but it wasn't like the number one show or anything. Basically, ABC and CBS were blowing NBC away, but they had CHiPs, and CHiPs was kind of like their anchor on a couple different nights. But at this point, it was Saturday night, leading off the night, and they decided to kick off the season with Roller Disco. Now, this is an episode that I didn't remember. I was, saw the title and really wanted to see it, but I don't remember a lot of individual episodes of CHiPs to begin with, Mike, because I sort of remember the show being around and sort of remember it being there and watching it. I remember there being toys of it, but I didn't watch it a whole lot, and I definitely hadn't seen it in years until sort of revisiting it for this. So I was never a big, what I'd call a CHiPs fan, but I was aware of the show. It was a big deal back in its day.
Yeah, I watched it. It might have been a combination of reruns and when it was on. Mm-hmm. Like, I remember watching reruns, but I also, at some point, remember watching it with, my dad at night and him busting on it. Or all of us, even at a young age, being aware of its sort of patterns and flaws. I don't really, remember specific episodes either. Mm-hmm. I think it's just not the kind of show where... But, the first time you mentioned this to me, it was like, yeah, that sounds familiar.
Yeah.
But maybe just because it was a show from the 70s and roller skating and disco were things.
Yeah.
I remember John and Ponch. Obviously, I remember the Sarge, played by returning Battle of the Network show's legend, Robert Pine.
Yes.
And I remember the theme song and the general things that would happen.
Yeah.
Giant car crashes.
Oh, yeah.
John and Ponch, their sort of camaraderie. Mm-hmm. Often some sort of, let's call it, fad sport. Like, they were into a lot of things, like hang gliding and, dirt biking and just, all that stuff that was...
Southern California stuff.
Yeah. And, a decent amount of skin.
Yeah.
And that's really about, the twinkle in Erik Estrada's smile.
Yes.
Larry Wilcox's thin lips, as Tina Fey said on 30 Rock. I don't actually remember those, but... yeah. And that's really basically what I remember. And playing CHiPs in the cul-de-sac on our bikes.
Oh, okay.
Can
see that, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, CHiPs, California Highway Patrol.
Right.
And Ponch and John, Ponch, Erik Estrada, John, Larry Wilcox, partners.
Frank Poncherello.
Yes. Motorcycle cops that apparently ride around in tandem all the time.
Yeah.
And perfect tandem on the freeways,
right.
as all motorcycle cops do, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I haven't seen that around here, but I'd love to. But that might just be a Southern California thing.
I've seen motorcycle cops here. Not often, but they do. I think there are some in the Virginia.
Okay, that ride around in
Highway Patrol. I think in pairs. Okay. Maybe not in perfect unison all the time, but...
All right.
Oh, yeah, I remember Grossi, one of the supporting cops. Mostly just because his name was Grossi.
Yeah, you like that?
Yeah, that's about it.
I mean, I think it's more lived on as like sort of an artifact of its era, not
Yeah.
so much in reruns as some of the other shows of that day.
Right.
Like, and I think like some of the well, Chips was on like what 6 seasons.
Yeah.
It was on a long time. It had over the course of its history, it had some contract disputes and sort of like a Laverne and Shirley type situation where reportedly the stars didn't get along, and Erik Estrada and Larry Wilcox didn't get along necessarily. Erik Estrada held out for more money at one point, or attempted to. Larry Wilcox was upset with the attention that Erik Estrada was getting from the writers and that sort of thing. So
Yeah.
the kind of show or the kind of thing that happens to a show after it's been on 4 or 5, 6 seasons, and by the 6th season, John was gone, Larry Wilcox was gone.
Right.
It was Erik Estrada and some scrub that I don't even remember.
Yeah.
Anything about the post Larry Wilcox years.
Right. I don't either.
And I would have been old enough to maybe remember if I were watching then, but I really don't think I was watching at that point. But
Yeah.
but it had a 6-year run, a pretty good run for anything really.
Yeah.
But maybe some of it was that NBC didn't have a whole lot else to go with. But
Right.
yeah, it was popular and aired in like sort of family friendly time slots. I think like this was at 8 o'clock
Yeah.
and seemed to be geared towards kids as well as.
I think so. Like that, one of the things I came away with was like I came into it thinking, "Oh, this is going to be terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is just not going to hold up." I mean, if I was a kid and knew it was bad, then there's no way it's going to hold up. That wasn't necessarily the case.
No, it's
But I think I came out with an understanding what kind of show that it was just there to be entertaining.
yeah.
It's I don't think they ever drew their guns.
Yeah, it's a good.
There's not
good
really
point.
violence
No.
of any kind. I mean, there's this hint of them being kind of ladies' men, but
It's rather chaste.
yeah, it is. And I mean, this episode especially has a lot of scantily clad people, but even that just presented as well. That's just
Everything
life.
did back in the
Yeah, it was
late
the
70s and
70s,
80s.
yeah.
That was TV, yeah.
Right.
That was considered family entertainment in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah, and people dress like that out in public, so it's
Yeah.
not like, I mean, maybe not somewhere I lived, but it's certainly on Venice Beach they did.
Right, yeah, that's the thing. It's and they must have loved writing. That's why they wrote this kind of stuff. But there was an excuse for it, and there wasn't like the cameras leering over people, or you didn't have other characters gazing at women and objectifying them, like like a Larry Dallas on Three's Company or something like
Right.
that. It wasn't.
And
It
then,
wasn't built around that. It was just sort of meant to be incidental. Although I'm sure the producers and Fred Silverman or whoever didn't consider it incidental. But it wasn't built around that sort of thing. Or
right, and like they seem to be respectful of women, like they're into them, but they're not. At least in these episodes, there was no sense of being, jerks about it or anything.
right, they had the female colleagues.
Yeah.
That they treat as equals. It seems like.
Right.
I've started, and maybe we should just to pull back the curtain here a little bit.
Yeah.
You actually got this season for me.
Right.
And so I've been watching more episodes, and I'm really enjoying the show. And one of the things that I've noticed in seeing some of the episodes is that the character that Randy Oakes plays, she's treated as a colleague. And I haven't seen. I'm sure there's some, but there are not a lot of episodes that just treat her as a woman. And she's doing a lot of the stuff that they are. I mean, Ponch and John are the stars of the show.
Yeah.
But they don't have like a designated female character. And again, this might have been in the earlier seasons or something. Like, it's not like on Miami Vice where they have like Trudy and Gina who are basically going undercover as prostitutes every episode.
Right. Yeah.
She's doing the same stuff they're doing.
She's in a patrol car.
Yeah,
and
she's not doing as much of it.
Yeah.
And I
Like in this episode, she gets a little moment, and a female character says something disparaging to her about being a woman cop, but she gets a good line in response.
yeah.
Like, which seems to me says the attitude of the show too. Like,
Yeah, I mean, her role as an officer is different because I think
Yeah.
she's not on the bike. She's
Right.
like in a patrol car,
yeah.
but still.
But there's a dude in a patrol car too.
Right,
so.
right. Yeah, so, there's a lot of, there's interesting things, and it's an entertaining show, and I think we picked a entertaining episode.
Yeah.
And a good one to get started with is a good one to discuss Chips about. I think.
I think so too. As I said, even after just watching the first one, it's like the quintessential Chips episode.
Yeah.
But then I also said probably every episode is.
That could well be the case. Yeah.
But this certainly, again, it has all those things I listed. It has at least one of everything I
Yeah.
listed.
Yeah.
And it has a really strong guest guest star roster playing characters, and then this other element of guest stars.
Yeah.
Or guests.
True. Yes. There's guest stars as guest stars and guest stars as themselves.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and all together for roller disco.
Right.
Which, if Miami Vice was MTV Cops, could CHiPs be considered disco cops? Maybe, because
Sure.
the theme song is like a disco theme
Yeah.
song. I mean, it's almost...
that theme song is pretty killer.
It is, yeah.
It's really enjoyable.
And that whole opening sequence is
it's
awesome.
It's cut together in
Right.
this rhythmic way, and it presents like all the, you see like what kind of gloves they wear, and
Right.
their badges, and
and it presents them as partners. It shows them good, and they also seem to have a knack for turning some kind of freeway chase almost seamlessly into the theme song.
Right.
You know, they transition into it. And
yeah, and there's like
I always like that.
There's like the incidental music is building up.
Yeah. Right.
To smoothly also transition right into that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
It is.
So should we get into roller disco?
Let's do. I've always been into roller disco.
Yeah. Well, that's true. That's true. Yeah, that's a well-known fact. Yeah. So there's multiple things going on here in roller disco. I think the main attraction for me of this was the roller disco and what this episode is built around. I guess you could say the main thing is there's a charity benefit that Ponch has been tasked with organizing the entertainment for. It's an annual benefit that the CHiPs crew, the department puts on every year for charity, and Ponch has to enlist celebrities to show up at this charity, this roller skate with the stars benefit.
Right.
So he's on. I guess he is the entertainment committee basically.
Yeah.
And he's responsible for lining them up. So there's that element, and that's what we're sort of building up to the culmination of this episode.
And the implication that everyone knows he's dropping the ball on this.
Yeah.
The Sarge is worried.
Right. Already he's yes.
It just seems like this is what he does, or just he's a procrastinator, or he's just so charming. Like I think he gets by on charm a lot.
Right. They really don't have any faith that he's going to pull anything off of this.
No.
I don't know what.
And it seems to be exasperating the Sergeant Robert Pine.
Yeah.
But in a bemused way, or just
Right.
like here we go again,
Yeah, but it's important to him though, which
Yeah.
But apparently he was okay with letting him have this job, but he didn't really have much confidence that he would do it well.
Or maybe it's just he knows he'll come through in the end, but the journey there is always stressful.
Yes.
Like there's the possibility that he won't.
Right.
So he's got that stress, and
Right. He's going to raise his blood pressure, but maybe he'll come through in the end. But
right.
Yeah, the things he puts him through to get there.
Yeah.
Like it's at the last minute it comes together, because that really is the case.
Yeah.
Because he keeps dropping hints and trying to get information about who he's got lined up, and Ponch is kind of saying he's working on it, but he doesn't really have anything until the end.
And maybe this, the sergeant in the back of his mind, he's like, if this works out, we'll finish the thing, and then I'll go get a bottle of lower brow.
Yes, thank you. So along with that is, superstar at the time, Leif Garrett,
Right.
is playing Jimmy Tyler, I think it is.
Yeah.
A rock star, huge rock star at the time, and he's sort of in a rough spot in his relationship with his manager, played by Bill Daly.
Right.
From Bob Newhart's show, I Dream of Jeannie, and he's been with him a long time since this kid was just a kid. They've
Right.
come up the ranks together.
At some point they say 5 years, right?
That sounds right. I don't
I
remember.
think
the exact-
that came out, but then I don't know how old the character is supposed to be. Like Leif Garrett was like 18 or 19 then.
I would think so. Yeah.
So
At most.
Bill Daly's character apparently found him in Central Park when he was 13.
I hadn't. Well, what are you suggesting here?
No, it's just interesting. I was more interested in the again, my obsession with the portrayal of the music industry.
Yeah.
Because this 18-year-old kid has, I wrote down these numbers because it's important.
Okay.
In the last 6 months, just in the last 6 months, he's written 11 hit songs, presumably all his, produced 2 albums, or released 2 albums, and he produced all of these too.
This is the Jimmy character?
Yeah, and had a 20-city tour.
Wow.
Just in 6 months.
That's a hell of a work ethic.
Yeah. I mean, now that it's 11 songs from 2 albums, at least, it doesn't...
Spread out over...
That's not as... that's believable.
Yeah.
because obviously with Thriller aside, most albums don't have more than a few singles. But
Right.
that's a lot. But maybe it's because Balford, that's Bill Daly's character, takes care of the business and he takes care of the music.
Right.
It's a two-man operation.
That's right. But possibly because of that incredible workload, he's in the point of exhaustion.
Yeah.
Jimmy is, and he just wants a break. He's worn out.
Yeah.
And he's clearly getting frustrated by the grind of everything.
Right.
And he's come to resent Balford's role in his career and everything, and he doesn't really. It's probably just guys that have been together too long, and starting at the seams of their relationship. There's definitely some tension going on. So they wind up getting into. Well, Jimmy winds up in the hospital because of
a giant,
one of our other stories.
right, that leads to I thought I wrote that down. Anyway, like a 6 to 8 car pileup.
Yeah, there's a pretty spectacular car flipping thing.
Yeah.
Which, like you said, Chips usually delivers
Right.
with chases and cars being flipped over.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's basically Larry Storch and Larry Linville
Yeah.
are playing two characters, and Larry Linville's wearing a neck brace in the whole episode.
Yeah.
And he's got he's frustrated, he's angry at not getting enough money in this insurance settlement
Right.
that he wanted to receive.
Some tailgater
Yes.
caused him to have an accident and get whiplash.
Right, and he's not satisfied with the money he got, so now he's got a vendetta against all tailgaters.
Right.
And he's really kind of trying to provoke them into these confrontations out on the freeway.
Yeah.
So
So he's rigged up his car. So first he put, like hydraulic shocks on it, so he can lower it. Mm-hmm. So it's like a low rider. And then he added these skid plates, which apparently some people were doing a few years before. We learned in a briefing.
yeah,
They're called skidders. And so when he lowers, those skid plates shoot up sparks behind the car.
yeah,
Kind of like Snidely Whiplash. Or something.
yeah.
Is that the right character?
Snidely Whiplash from Deadly. Or are you thinking of?
I'm thinking of Tom Slick, whoever the villain on that. Oil Can Pete? Oil Can Harry?
Yeah, on Snidely Whiplash was Dudley Do Right.
Oh, right, yeah. He didn't do that. Or somebody on Wacky Races.
Right.
Anyway, you get the picture.
Yeah, dastardly.
Right, yeah. So the sparks fly up, and that's what happens in this case. Like, the Jimmy's chauffeur is tailgating them. And this is the first time they're going out to try it.
Yeah.
Larry Storch has got a beer in his hand.
Yeah, sitting. Yeah, he's riding shotgun.
Larry Linville is channeling Frank Burns and just being a complete jerk.
Yeah.
And they cause this accident and just drive off.
Yeah, it's.
And Larry Storch does say, someone might be dead back there.
Larry Storch is the voice of reason in
Yeah.
this pair. Yeah, so there you
Franco.
go. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's going on, and then at some point there's this briefing scene where the sergeant's giving a briefing, and it kind of dissolves to like an actual event like that, or a fantasy version, or whatever. They show him like causing a couple of motorcycle guys to dump their bikes on a dirt road.
Yeah, it's like in the briefing, he's telling everybody, like, this is the kind of stuff that's been going on, but he's like,
Yeah.
these are examples of, like...
And be on the lookout for it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting, like, they cut away from the briefing and show this footage of these other similar similar scenes of, I guess, luring people into these tailgating accidents.
Right, yeah. So he's driving slow in the fast lane.
Yeah, he's entrapping
Right.
them to a certain point, yeah.
Yeah.
And, causing all kinds of havoc. So this is what puts Jimmy in the hospital.
Yeah.
And I guess we should mention briefly that as a result of this, Jimmy sort of gets in a huff, and the two of them, and he basically encourages Bill Daly to take a hike.
Yeah.
And Ponch and John are checking up on the hospital, and this leads to John, being the good soul that he is, offering to take Jimmy in and stay in his bachelor pad.
Yeah, because he just needs to check out.
Yeah, he needs to get his head together.
Yeah.
Although, wait a minute.
That's right, because he goes out, he checks himself out of the hospital.
Right, I skipped an important thing.
Yeah, and goes driving and just is like crying and about to fall asleep, and wisely pulls over.
Yeah, it almost looked like it was like a suicidal thing at
Yeah.
first. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of.
Yeah, or maybe part of him was kind of thinking that, but clearly his head, he wasn't thinking straight. And it's exhaustion, it's all kind of things going on.
Right. Yeah. Now, Ponch, of course, is just angling for celebrities.
Right, exactly, yeah.
He's not that concerned with this situation.
Right, he keeps trying to get in there and ask Jimmy he actually wants to directly ask Jimmy if he'll go to the benefit, like while he's recovering from this accident.
Yeah.
I think John's the one that kind of, hey, look, give him a break.
Yeah. And then John's like, yeah, you come stay at my apartment.
Yeah.
Ponch comes in with them, drinks a raw egg.
Yeah.
Just that's what Ponch does.
Yeah. Well, John
shows up at his friend's house.
Yeah. John tells Jimmy to make himself at home, but Ponch clearly already does that. Right. He doesn't need an invitation.
And then he just leaves the glass on the counter.
Yeah. Hey, why not? He's charming when he does it.
Yeah.
What the heck?
So these guys really believe in community policing.
They do. He's taken an active interest in this, definitely.
Yeah. And you think, oh, well, that's all going to work out fine.
Right. Well, and John's not like starstruck or anything. He recognizes a big celebrity. It's
because he's
not
into country music.
Yeah. It's not his thing. He just is really genuinely trying to do the kid a favor.
Yeah.
And do him a good turn. So there's that going on, and then I guess like one of the other we should get into the main crime story. You've got the Larry Linville, Larry Storch thing.
Yeah.
That's kind of definitely a secondary story, but the main crime scene is it's got football legends Jim Brown and Fred the Hammer Williamson on roller skates as part of this smash and grab operation.
Right.
Taking their marching orders from a sort of rough-looking woman named Lita, who's giving them their orders, and she's like. So what they do is they're staging all these diversionary tactics, like alongside the beach, and I guess these businesses, beachfront businesses and stuff, where.
So she kind of plays the.
She starts out. She's playing like an innocent.
Yeah.
Like so one of them will make off with somebody's wallet, and like she just happens to be crouching there, and then she gets up and runs into the other people and prevents them from chasing after, like the victim or the waiter or whatever, from chasing after Jim Brown and Fred Williamson.
Right.
And later they sort of reverse that a little bit, and they have her being the one to steal the diamonds, and then them doing these like weird things.
Yeah, they're using their football skills.
Yes.
And they're on roller skate. We did say that.
Yes.
Right? They're on roller skates.
They're all three of them on roller skates. She's got like special shoes that the camera makes a point of focusing on. She
Skechers.
Yeah, she flicks something and turns them into like skates.
Right.
When the moment's right to make a fast getaway.
And she keeps upping the ante on their crimes.
Yeah, and they're becoming disenchanted with this this business.
Yeah. And it seems like this was interesting to me that Fred the Hammer Williamson's character seems slightly more in charge than Jim Brown's character.
Yeah, exactly. Jim Brown is secondary in this one.
Romo. That's his name. I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember
But and he's sort of like, well, whatever you do, I'll do it.
Yeah, he's kind of going along, which is sort of a
reverse of reality.
Yeah.
What? So Jim Brown's famous running back.
Maybe one of the best NFL players of all time.
And he retired early, right?
Yeah, he was like 9 seasons. He walked away at his peak and then went into acting, after having retired as maybe the best football player of all time.
Yeah. And what?
Fred Williamson was a good player. I don't think he's a Hall of Famer, but he was an All-Pro. But
what position did he play?
He was like a defensive back.
Okay.
And known for hitting people with forearm shivers or something that would be illegal in today's NFL. And he, of course, he also had like a big acting career and like a lot of blaxploitation and action movies at the time. So I don't know. Maybe as actors, Fred Williamson actually might have had a higher profile than Jim Brown.
Maybe.
But as athletes, Jim Brown would be. And Fred Williamson was actually on Monday Night Football for a very brief time.
Okay.
That didn't work out. I think that was after this, but I could be wrong on that. But
he gave Frank Gifford a...
the hammer.
The hammer.
So it's an interesting combination. This woman, Lita, and these two, people, and they're all on roller skates. So there's a lot of chase scenes, and actually...
It seems like the two guys, like they're doing a lot of their own work, too.
Yeah, I think they are. It really looked to me like, they were doing their own skate work, which is kind of interesting. And part of it seemed a little unseemly to have, like, Jim Brown especially skating
he doesn't need roller skates.
Yeah. And but they did have a scene like our heroes are chasing after them, and at one point, like they do like a football tackle move on.
Fred Williamson blocks them basically.
Yeah,
he blocks for Jim Brown and knocks both of them on their butts,
which is pretty cool. Yeah, so the first couple times, Ponch and John are stooging for this gang.
Yeah,
and there's a young lad also on roller skates that keeps watching them and sort of like trash talking them because they're letting the cops. But this kid is watching all these crimes unfold.
Right. He never tells them anything.
No.
He has all the information.
Right. He's seen exactly how they've happened, but instead of like helping them, he's basically just like trash talking them for letting them get away.
I guess the idea is that he's walking the line because he does he gets inspired by them. Mm-hmm. So all this is on Venice Beach, and then he goes to the Santa Monica Pier and steals a bunch of change from this woman on a payphone. This cranky old woman on a payphone.
Yeah, who's got like $5 worth of quarters piled up on the
right.
payphone.
And she's stop thief, and people are chasing him, and he grabs onto the bumper of a station wagon driven by another old woman.
Right.
Or excuse me, matronly woman.
Yes, thank you.
And ends up on the freeway. She has no idea he's there.
Right, he's basically hanging on.
And I did look at Google Maps. Just curious about this. I mean, I've been to both of those places, so I was curious about how close are they really? And they're about 3 miles apart, and like they're on the same road.
Okay.
So, I mean, obviously they're both on the Pacific, but because that comes in later where they're at Santa Monica Pier and they walk back to the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And there's a freeway. There are a couple freeways right around there too. So, that all seemed fairly. I bought into the geography. What was going on. And he's hitching this ride, and then so John and actually the Sarge, because Ponch is busy looking for celebrities, are on an overpass and see him getting towed by this station wagon.
Yeah.
And finally get her. And people are telling her, kind of like your gas tank is open.
Yeah. Right.
And she's wow.
Yeah, she's just irritated.
Right. And finally, they get her to pull over, and she's freaked out. The kid doesn't bat an eye.
Yeah, he's like,
how fast was I going?
Yeah, he's.
So John also takes an interest in him, like
yeah, he does. He's
helping him out.
Yeah, John's a
like
great guy.
gently lecturing him that this is a really dumb idea.
Yeah, he does gently lecture him.
But,
you're right.
Yeah, and then in the process of taking care of, getting him back home, they meet his sister and her friend Bettina, who are, of course, lovely-looking 20-something-year-olds.
Yeah, they're foxy ladies.
Foxy ladies, and they happen to be roller skate instructors, who maybe can help Ponch find some celebrities.
Right, they have classes. They teach roller disco, and I think he asks her. Or I don't think she. I think he asked her if there are any celebrities in their class, and she says yes.
Yeah,
it's like.
It
Hey,
turns
any
out
celebrities in your class?
They're pretty low-level celebrities.
Do you think like Ponch was going around to art classes, like sculpture? Hey, do you have any celebrities in your class? Like going up to these teachers of like random hobbies and classes, and that's how he went about finding celebrities.
Elementary schools.
Yeah. Hey.
He's doing like the visiting, the policeman visiting in the classroom, but. It's like, are any of you celebrities? Are any of your parents celebrities?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Hey, did I see you in a donut commercial?
Yeah, he really gets bailed out at the end because his
really
approach to the scene. He lucks into a lot of things, including meeting these two women.
Yeah, right. And
so so the sister of the boy is taking care of him.
Yeah, and that's what. So we're circling around, but so at some point they go to see some of their students like performing on Venice Beach, and that's when they encounter the Jim Brown gang. Yeah, and get knocked on their hindquarters.
The keisters.
Yeah. So then, but then there's a second time they're actually on duty. Yeah. And they chase them. Now that I'm curious about that, like the jurisdiction and stuff. Not enough to actually find out, but just like I guess maybe. The Highway Patrol has jurisdiction over Venice Beach. I don't know. It might be, LA's all weird, like, this big sprawling thing, and maybe parts of it are considered or under state control as far as police go.
Yeah, they make their way into all.
Or they have cross jurisdiction or something. I don't know.
SoCal, yeah.
Yeah. So this other time they chase them around, and the guys, they know their way around the neighborhood. Yeah. So they lose them, and the kid makes fun of them again. Right. As John said, the good guys don't win every battle. Yeah. Or every round.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
Well, he turns out to he turns out to show the kid that good does triumph, but they do look like fools for a while.
Right. And then later, Ponch comes up with a plan to catch them. This is, I think, near the beginning of the second episode.
Yeah.
And he said, because it's right before the credits, because like the bass drum is playing while it's going on, and just John has one of my favorites. He's like, Ponch says, "I got a plan. It involves the girls," and John's like,
"Yeah,
that's not a plan, brother. That's desire."
Yeah, it's desire.
Yeah, right. Just kick right into the opening.
Yeah. Ponch's plan just happens to involve them having an excuse to get with the girls again.
Yeah. It's nice that they're two.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Even before I think we're formally introduced to them, these two episodes have many scenes. Well, maybe not many, but at least several scenes of just long montages of people doing roller disco.
Yeah, and we see that
in public. And yeah, it's pretty cool. They're just all coming out and doing their little thing. Just individual skaters, and this is where you see girls in bikinis and guys in short shorts and couples and individuals, and there's a lot of that in this episode.
Yeah. Here, interesting aside, I saw this David Bowie documentary the other day, and they showed some footage of L.A. in the 70s, like when he was recording one of his albums there. Mm-hmm. I think it was more Hollywood area, but it was like a nighttime scene, and there were like 2 or 3 people, like girls roller skating on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Like, this is realistic.
Yeah, hey.
And I mean, Venice Beach it's a busy place. I assume a lot of those people were like, regular people down there.
Yeah.
Like there's weird clowns and stuff and all that stuff. But a lot going on. A lot of that. And so the very first scene we actually see them in the crowd of the demonstration of the disco.
Yeah.
The roller disco. Which apparently means the combination of roller skating and doing dance moves.
Yeah. What better combination
Not just
could there be?
like, when we were kids, whatever, roller skating in circles to disco music.
Yeah.
I remember doing that.
Yeah, which not nearly as cool as this version of roller disco. We see a little bit of that later in the episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, that brand of roller disco. But yeah, this is true roller disco, man.
Right.
And it's good stuff.
Yeah.
We do get a lot of it though. So those are basically the main storylines in here. And they the storylines sort of come together.
Yeah.
The whole thing comes together, and here's what I want to talk about at some point. It all leads up to what I think is maybe the best 10 minutes in the history of television. The actual benefit. Yeah. The skating with the stars.
Right.
I mean, and this is why, so this episode, it's 2 parts. In some sense, like the roller disco scenes, like those scenes of people just dancing, it feels like padding.
Yeah.
The whole the Larry Linville, Larry Storch thing is amusing, but it doesn't.
It's really like 3 scenes.
It doesn't have a big impact.
Yeah.
So really, I would have liked to have seen just like 2 whole hours of this benefit. But so we get just 10 minutes, and I love the way this all comes together. So I guess we could mention, I mean, because of what goes on with Jimmy, and Jimmy basically comes and shows up. Yeah. And a lot of celebrities do wind up coming.
Right. And his issue over the thing too was while he was staying at John's apartment, he was trying to do his manage himself.
Right. He was
And he moved a bunch of his stereo in there, and he's playing loud music, and all these girls know he's there, and it's causing a disruption.
Yeah. John's manager is complaining.
Right. And he's John's trying to gently talk some sense into him, or lead him to the realization, well, you can't do it all yourself.
Right.
The reason you have this other guy is so that he can do it.
Right. So
meanwhile, Ponch has gone to his office because Balford gave Ponch a list of celebrities, and none of them even, like, some of them think he's dead.
Yeah. He hasn't talked to him in a while, it seems like.
And so he's kind of sad, too, and explaining the operation. Ponch is like, you might not want to, but maybe you hire some help, and then you won't lose a friend. Or something
it's a
like
lot
that.
better, because he had said, like, the idea was just to be a 2-man operation, save costs.
Right.
So no secretaries or anything like that. It's like, you might want to hire some people. It might be a little expensive, but it's a lot more valuable than losing a friend or something like that. Yeah. It's totally fun.
Yeah, and then they do invite them each to the party without telling the other one.
Right, and Balfour gives he mentions this charity and says, look,
actors and other people for animals.
Right. So he basically, look, I can I can. I guess is he going to call them, or is he he gives Ponch that list or hooks
Oh,
them up?
Ponch says, just bring them.
Oh yeah. Don't call, because he says, look,
Yeah.
don't call. Just come and bring them. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they
Which-
show up.
Again, is Ponch just leaving everything to the wind? I guess.
Should we mention the celebrity that Ponch doesn't get?
Yeah, let's before we get to the best 10 minutes in the history of television,
Yeah.
let's mention that, because that comes early in the first.
Right.
That's in the first
Another
episode.
another returning star to the show.
Yes. Or
Yeah.
maybe I should.
Yes.
Say. You sir are correct.
Yeah. Mr. Ed McMahon
Yes, the great Ed McMahon shows up.
in a classic Thunderbird on the
Yes,
in Beverly Hills.
While Ponch is again, he's got like a map of the stars or something.
Yeah.
He's looking for celebrity homes.
Right. I was gonna say on the clock, but I mean this. I guess it was sanctioned.
Yeah, it is. Okay, yeah, it's an official duty. Yeah, that's why he's
Yeah.
not on patrol with John right now.
Right. Yeah.
So I guess he's going door to door looking for celebrities
Right.
that he can harass into coming into this policeman's ball.
Yeah.
And Ed McMahon pulls up.
Right. Ponch does not recognize him at all.
No, I guess he's asking him for like directions or something.
Yeah, and he's at one point. Does Michael Landon live here?
Yeah.
Like,
Michael-
no.
Yeah. And Ed McMahon is doing this in classic, anytime Ed McMahon is not around Johnny Carson, he's got this swagger
Yeah.
that he totally loses when he's with Johnny Carson. So he's got,
No glasses.
right, no glasses, just this big grin on his face the whole time, and, acting like he's the cock of the walk, and
Yeah.
and just very entertained by the fact that this officer doesn't recognize him.
Right. And Ponch says something like, "Oh, I'm waiting for my partner John to get here." And
Yeah.
I've got a partner John too.
Yeah. Yeah, the whole thing. So they do this little bit where Ponch is mentioning this benefit and not, and I think he might have even says at one point that he could use an MC or something like
an
that.
MC type.
Ed McMahon's just sitting there, not saying anything, and the whole thing it builds up to John's arrival,
Right.
so that Ed McMahon can pull away and say, "Here's Johnny."
And then he pulls out as
Yeah.
Ponch. It dawns on Ponch.
Yeah, Ponch realizes, "Hey, wait a minute, aren't you?" And then
Yeah.
Ed McMahon just kind of like gives him the kiss off and pulls away, and that's the last we see of Ed McMahon.
They mention him one more time, like Ponch is still trying to get him, but
Right, but
doesn't.
he doesn't. Apparently, Ed McMahon, despite this encounter, had wanted no part of this.
And yet, he's in part one, but in the credits of both episodes, he's in the opening credit or the list of guest stars.
Yeah.
None of the other celebrities make it into which may be some sort of contractual thing.
Yeah, that's interesting. And maybe like they might have done something weird for syndication with the credits, because
Yeah.
if this originally aired like as a two-parter,
Right.
I don't know if they had that.
There would have been one set.
Because
Yeah.
that's another thing. Speaking of how this episode might have been padded, like there's a long recap at the beginning of
Yeah.
what's part two, so
Right.
there might have been something shady going on when they repackaged this for syndication. But
Yeah.
so Ed McMahon unfortunately does not show up at the Skate with the Stars, but lots of other people do.
Yeah.
I don't know if he was really missed. I mean, basically they had your boy Grossi.
Yeah.
Was apparently the de facto MC and DJ for this event.
Yeah.
So the Skating with the Stars, it does come off, and it's a big success. And basically, I guess you had the opportunity to put on your skates and skate around a track with the stars.
Yeah.
So I guess for some donation, you would be skating with the stars.
Right.
And that sounds like fun, and it sounds like a fun thing to watch. And it is, but the way they present it cracks me up, because all they do is just show people going around the track, and they basically just, Grossi is just reading off names for like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
It's the most bizarre thing, and they're showing apparently like actual footage. I don't know if it was an actual benefit.
I feel like it maybe was. Like maybe they did an actual benefit for the actors. I
Right.
feel like that's a real organization.
Okay.
Actors and other people for
That
animals.
would make sense, and then they just sort of use this footage because like
Yeah.
most of the celebrities are not playing to the camera.
No.
They're just like mingling with each other, and if anything, they sort of like look like the cameras are obtrusive or something like that.
Yeah. There's like one point, like Grossi says, "Hey, there's Cindy Williams," and then later he says, "Hey, Cindy,"
Yeah.
and she kind of looks at the camera.
Right. Like it's like, who said that?
Yeah, but I feel like they edited that in.
Yeah, it's very bizarre.
Yeah.
So a lot of this consists of like you see them skating just like, and now come out there and skate with the stars, and it's just there's Todd Bridges, Dick Van Patten,
Who you never see.
Right. Actually, I did see.
You did see?
Dick Van
Okay.
Patten at one point because I was.
Adam Rich, I can understand
Yeah.
not seeing because he's short.
Yeah, and then at some point they just start like he just starts cramming a bunch of them like together, like there's Peter Lupus and Victor French, and and just kind of like they're not even getting real big spotlight moments. And then you see like Todd Bridges and I think Dana Plato was there maybe, and
Yeah.
yeah, Adam Rich, like half the cast of Eight is Enough,
Right,
like you
yeah.
said.
Richard Hatch from Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah, Richard Hatch, and it's just a listing of things that the whole thing you've got to see it to believe it, but it's almost surreal.
George Papard.
Yeah, George Papard.
Robert Mandan.
There's Robert Mandan, and he actually gets a lot of camera time, and they show him like Tina Louise, and I don't think they announce him at the same time, but I think it's Peter Marshall basically is leading Tina Louise around, and some of them aren't on skates,
right?
But like he's leading her on the track, and she seems almost like half reluctant or something like that. There's something weird going on there,
but like Robert Mandan does some funny skating.
Yeah, and Robert Mandan's got a classic like disco era suit on, and he looks like he's on the prowl. I think in this one, he's having a good time. Earl Holliman.
Is he the guy that's the president?
He seems to be like the big head of this of this charity. So you see Earl Holliman and boy, I gotta admit there's 2 or 3 people that I had to look up, and there's some that aren't. Richard Paul, because there's a beauty contest.
Yeah, the Bonnie organized.
Yeah, so there's a beauty contest which consists of scantily clad women getting out and just kind of skating, and then I forget who the judges were. Richard Paul was one of the judges.
Todd Bridges.
And there was a female judge.
Lee Merriweather?
Yeah,
she was there,
She
right?
was definitely there, yeah. Lee Merriweather was there.
She might have been one of the judges.
Yeah.
And I think there were 4.
Yeah. But so they were judging, there was a beauty contest component to it, so that did break up things. Who is your favorite? My favorite celebrity that was in the thing was Nancy Cole, because she just looked like lost or like concerned or something. She had this like weird look on her face, like I don't think she was even like skating, but she just seemed to be hanging around the track, and it just seems like she seems like the most awkward of all the celebrities there.
I think I know her name, but I don't know.
Miss Hathaway from the Beverly Hillbillies.
Oh.
And the tall.
Right. Yeah.
And not one you would think to be a big roller disco fan to begin with, but
I don't know about my favorite celebrity, but the fact that both Ruth Buzzy and Joanne Worley are there.
Ruth Buzzy was one of the judges.
Yeah.
Yes, Joanne Worley.
Both of them are there. That to me was the pinnacle of 70s-ness to it.
Yes, all these people we're naming are sort of 70s-ish celebs. Some more, I guess more 70s-ish than others, but and Joanne Worley even gets like a, "Come on everybody, get on your skates and there's your chance to boogie down the track with Joanne Worley," or something like that.
And I mean, George Papard seems kind of impressive.
Yeah.
His pre-A team.
Yeah, I guess maybe post Banachek and pre-A team.
Yeah, but he had been a movie star.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone else there was really a movie star or former movie star.
Okay, yeah, that's a good question. Like, who is the biggest star?
Yeah.
I don't know if I would say maybe. Geez, it might have been Todd Bridges. Maybe.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it, I mean, Earl Holliman. You had some veteran actor types that weren't necessarily like big stars or anything.
Yeah.
A lot of, Dick Van Patten.
Right.
Okay, here's the other thing. I was watching this for celebrities that weren't named.
Yeah.
And I couldn't come because I thought at first like Victor French was never named, but he was actually named.
He might be my favorite one.
Yeah, he looks
just so he was awkward. There and having an intense time.
Yeah.
He looks awkward, but then he seems to be really into the musical performance.
Yeah, he's kind of like clapping and getting into it. Because Jimmy does a performance too.
Right.
Of his song Give In.
Yeah.
Give In. Yeah. Which is, pretty much what he expected to be.
Yeah.
That sort of era of, teen idol rock.
I give them points because it looked like they probably used his real band.
Yeah.
Everyone looked like they were miming the actual song.
Right. And the band looked like,
just
70s
dudes.
guys that, were probably up to unsavory activities before and after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's got a skinny leather tie on.
Yeah. So the biggest star. Anyways, here's the one actor that I thought I recognized or celebrity that was not named. I think the biggest omission that I don't think he got a shout out was I believe I saw Philip McKeon.
Yeah.
From Alice, and I don't think he was ever named, and I felt bad for him.
Yeah.
He deserved better.
Alice's son.
Yes.
brother of Nancy McKeon in real life.
Apparently didn't rate a mention in this.
Yeah.
He should have been. His agent should have gotten a talking to.
Right. Yeah.
Because he got.
So now I'm wondering about the combination of the people who were there too. So we suspect some of them were actually part of that organization. Some of them, I mean, the 80s Enough people and him were on Warner Brothers shows.
Ah, good point. Good point. Yes.
Todd Bridges and Dana Plato were on an NBC show, NBC's other hit.
Yeah.
At the time.
Right.
So I wonder if it's just a mix of those things.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So like I think at least 2 or 3 of the daughters from 8 is Enough were there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if there's any. Maybe it was like a real event that they just happened to, and presumably there's some other people mixed in there.
Yeah.
Although they didn't really spotlight any of the other people. There's mostly
Right.
the actors that they're talking about.
Yeah, I don't know.
Of course, he doesn't. And now the other people.
Yeah.
But hey, I'm having troubles describing how awesome this is to watch. But it's just the way it's presented. So like, they don't do really anything creative with it. Just the fact that they just do that and just name them. Like, okay, well, here's all the celebrities, and let's just name them. And you sort of get to see them go around the track, but it really isn't that satisfying.
Yeah.
I mean, it's cool and it's funny because they do it like that. But it's like, man, this is what it's been building up to. Is just like this stretch of Grossman rattling off names while people skate around the track.
I had also built up in my mind who was actually there.
Yeah.
And those people weren't there.
Right. Well,
like for some reason I thought Milton Berle was there.
Yeah.
I think it was just because it was like when you first told me about this, it was a massive list of celebrities of that era, and like we talked about with the Muppet Show, I just assumed certain people were there.
Yeah, not quite that level.
But they are still. If you look at that list, it's like, and probably some people listening are like, wait, who are these people?
Yeah, that could all be.
You know, none of them are well known now at this point. Maybe George Papard and Dick Van Patten.
Well,
Cindy Williams. But
this is like 1979. It's a lot of these celebrities are like game show famous celebrities.
Right.
A lot of these people you would see on shows like The Match Game and stuff like that. So they're more like, third or fourth leads on sitcoms or something like that.
Yeah. Brett Summers.
Oh yeah, Brett Summers. That's right. How could I forget her?
I don't remember seeing her, but
real briefly, they did show like I think when she was named, they didn't see her, but then later they showed her skating around like one time.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. I'm glad you mentioned that. Give her a shout out. Yeah.
And I looked up the Rick Rosner, the executive producer of the show, and he doesn't have a lot of credits, but he was definitely involved in some version of Hollywood Squares. I think the John Davidson version.
Interesting. Okay.
Like I mean, it didn't seem like he had a lot of actual fiction writing.
Really.
Credits.
Yeah.
It was just interesting. Maybe he made all his Chips money, and that's.
Yeah.
But he might have. Maybe that's how he came up in that. Just more like a producing producer than a writing producer.
Yeah.
And maybe he knew some of these people too.
Right. So so the Skate with the Stars, and the thing about the disco is, I mean, disco is, I've seen more of these episodes, like every episode of Chips has them going to a disco. It's not unusual at all. I mean, the skating is is a different element, and the celebrities, but it's not at all unusual for the Chips characters to find themselves at a disco.
That's what was happening.
Yeah, that is indeed what was happening.
Can we talk about John's disco outfit?
Sure.
Not disco outfit?
He seems. Ponch definitely seems to blend in a lot more to this atmosphere than John does.
Like he fit in and he was skating. Like John wasn't skating either.
Yeah.
Well, we saw him skate on Venice Beach. Not well, but so he's wearing this thing like a powder blue turtleneck with a tweed blazer with patches on the shoulders or elbows over the turtleneck.
Yeah.
A very collegiate look.
Yes. Yeah.
And it looked like a pretty heavy turtleneck too. I mean, LA can get coldish at night, but
right. Probably not.
He didn't look comfortable.
No. Robert Mandan probably went up to him and made fun of his outfit. Robert Mandan was in Soap and I guess Three's a Crowd and he's in the Three's Company spinoff and was on Soap. So that's who, just for people that might not know him. But
and at least as a kid, visually, I got him confused with Ted Knight. They don't really look alike at all, but
no, but he
were they in a movie together or something? Maybe
maybe, but he played a lot of like imperious type characters too.
Right.
So John and there's the scene where they're rehearsing for the beauty pageant thing, and they're telling all the girls like, okay, so what you're gonna do is take a guy and go out and skate with him, and so somebody goes over and like Ponch, John, and Sarge Gertruyer.
I don't know how to say it.
Okay, yeah. They're all standing together there, and some girl comes up. There's all these women skaters there, not all that many guys.
Right.
Somebody comes up and takes Ponch and takes him right away.
Yeah.
And John and the Sarge are just sitting there. Nobody takes them.
They don't even have skates on.
But they're just sitting there, like, staring awkwardly.
Yeah. Like Sarge, kind of, he's a little older.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
and they just kind of have that look in their face, like they're sort of trying to, like, fit in, but they don't really fit in. And they realize, like, nobody would come and get us anyway. And
right.
It's just kind of... They just look like two white guys staring at a scene that they don't really understand and sort of half-wish. You can sort of see, like, John, like, at his complex or whatever, his condo or whatever. You can sort of picture a lot of, like, barbecues going on there where John's just kind of, like, hanging out there and holding a drink and trying to blend in. That's kind of what that reminded me of. It just shows what a contrast there is between his character and Ponch.
Right, yeah.
Ponch, like, fits in anywhere.
Or like when they're off, like he'll go up into the mountains and do something outdoorsy.
Yeah.
And Ponch will just be going to discos.
Yeah.
Or going to the beach. Or
yeah.
Doing something that involves the possibility of meeting a woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and here, woman came right up to him and
I know.
didn't have to do anything.
Yeah, and now it's weird. They didn't invite those. As far as I can tell, they didn't invite Surreal, I think is her name, and Bettina and Mark to this event.
Yeah, we don't see them at the
No.
Yeah, you'd assume that they would be their special guests or something, that they'd show them going around the track.
Yeah.
With the celebrities.
Right.
But yeah, that doesn't happen.
And the cellist from the Oxnard Chamber Orchestra is there, I think.
Yeah. Ladies didn't make the cut.
No.
Maybe they got a little too clingy for
Well,
Ponch.
that first, one of the things they do in order to catch, going back to that story for a minute, to catch Jim Brown and Fred Williamson, is they go on a little outing with the ladies at night, and the kid, but then the kid bails, of course, and then they go walk around the neighborhood to scout it out, so that when the next time they chase them, they can block off all their exits and stuff. And they get back to their house, and the sister invites them in, and John's all up for that.
That's a good point.
And Ponch is like, no, we got to go to, so they can go check out the beauty pageant. He's not putting all his raw eggs in one basket.
Yeah, that's right. Well, that's the dynamic of two guys. Yeah. One guy that sees a golden opportunity that he might not get the rest of the month, if not longer. And Ponch is a guy that can have pretty much anybody whenever he wants.
Right.
So yeah, that's the thing. Although John might not have even been in that opportunity if not for being Ponch's partner. So
that's true. Yeah.
Can't. So yeah, here's something else I want to bring up. Getting back to one of the other stories. The scene where Ponch is in Balford's, Bill Daly's office talking to him. Bill Daly's kind of cramped office. There was something going on in that scene that I didn't notice the first time, but I kind of went back and watched it and saw something going on. Something that we haven't really addressed in this episode, and some of the pressure and the stress that Jimmy's character is experiencing. Yeah. And maybe one of the reasons for why he's having these exhaustion issues. Bill Daly's character touches his nose a lot of times. Go back, it's subtle. It's subtle, but it's at least 3 or 4 times he's kind of like doing a little, tapping his nose kind of thing. Yeah. It's 1979. It's the music industry. You were talking earlier about portrayals of the music industry. Yeah. And that kind of reminded me of that. I'd say go back and watch that. I think it's a little knowing nod there to people.
Bill Daly being clever.
It could be. It could very well be just him doing that on his own. Yeah. I mean, come on.
Right.
I could just be reading into that, but it's more than one time that he's doing that. Why would this character be touching his nose at all?
Yeah. And so you think Jimmy's been living a hard life too?
Yeah, possibly.
And probably they're doing it together or something.
Could be, yeah.
You
exactly.
Think so.
I think it's like...
Or it was Jimmy using something else as he graduated to some downer.
Could be. But it's interesting that, like, in this whole episode, there's no mention of... They steer... I understand why. Right. But they totally steer clear of any talk of, like, there's no hint of substance abuse or anything like that, which would probably be an issue for this kid.
Right.
If nothing else, he's probably on something to kind of keep his energy up with this workload. But they don't even really go there.
No.
But I think Bill Daly recognized that and gave a little something for people that were in the know that were watching. So that's a little something I'd look out for again.
Yeah. Nice. That's a good catch.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I was more focused on the emotion in the scene.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He's sad. He's packing up a lot of Jimmy's belongings.
Yeah.
You know.
He's got gold records on the wall and stuff.
Yeah.
Framed records. And
He's
stuff.
gonna keep the first pressing of Give In, their first single. He says some people frame their first dollar, their first ticket.
Yeah. He looks at Ponch. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I don't think Ponch ever did that, but
No, but he apprecied the joke. Yeah.
Yeah, he got it.
Ponch is a great guy. John's a great guy. Ponch is a great guy. I would really like to hang out with these cops. What a life they lead, huh?
Yeah, I want to hang out with the Sarge.
Oh, this is interesting too.
Yeah.
One of the people I had to look up was actually the Sarge's real life wife.
Really?
Robert Pine's wife was she was an actress.
Uh-huh.
She was one of the celebrities that was named by Grossman.
I thought I heard someone named Pine.
Was
that her name?
No, I think her name was different. But here's the thing. She also turned up in the show in several episodes as the Sarge's wife.
Ah.
So apparently she was on the show as herself in this episode, and also as the Sarge's wife in other episodes. So it's a little something,
Yeah.
that I found interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know of any link with her and cocaine use, but
No.
I didn't really recognize her when I was watching this.
They're just a low-and-brow family.
Yeah,
They're
exactly.
Not,
Exactly. So you'd like to hang out with the Sarge, huh?
Well,
you kind of like
just my adult appreciation of Robert Pine being cool.
Yeah. Right.
And he seems more like I sort of remember watching as a kid, not maybe just because he was the boss, not enjoying that as much. But I mean, he seems pretty laid back.
Yeah,
really.
he does. Like I really expected him to be a lot more gruff than I mean, he's gruff, but he's more the lovable, but gruff. The lovable part comes out a lot more than the gruff part.
And clear. So in the opening scene, I don't know if we mentioned that because Ponch is off chasing celebrities, the Sarge has to ride.
Yeah.
With John, and there's definitely an air of like he would much rather be doing that.
Oh, right, like
than pushing papers.
Right, yeah,
and worrying about this hassle of organizing charity things and stuff.
Yeah.
But that's his life now.
Yeah, I mean he's a cop's cop.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's for sure. Yeah.
Right.
Another thing that I think this episode brings up, we talked about how it's like a quintessential cops episode, but one kind of thing that makes the show enjoyable for me is like all this location shooting.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got some scenes that take place like in their office, with like the briefings and stuff like that. But most of the show is outdoors. And granted, a lot of it, I guess at the time, it was probably not a critical favorite, and a lot of it was car chases. But still, I mean, you're seeing like footage, and you're seeing footage of the beaches and like these different areas of Southern California, and it's kind of cool to watch. It definitely makes the show a lot more interesting than you might expect.
Well, so one of my good friends, his name is George, grew up in L.A., and when he came out here for a while, he was always sort of astounded at that people could recognize things in L.A. Or like when I visited him, or mentioned, like there's the L.A. River, that cement thing that shows up in chases in movies all the time. And, I kind of knew what that was. Or there's one bridge that's like seems like it's in every movie for some reason. But it's because of stuff like CHiPs. Yeah. They're actually set there, or if you go, especially like some of the stuff with Larry Linville, like the kind of walls they had in that neighborhood, like having visited George in the valley, the San Fernando Valley, like those walls are everywhere there. So like I see those now and I know, oh, that's probably the valley. But even before I would have seen those and go, that's L.A.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I think you can see those other places in the Southwest, but those things stand out. And like the Venice Beach stuff, just like I kind of recognize it immediately, just having been there with him, and most of the buildings are the same old buildings, so it wasn't that hard to recognize. But I think that's cool. I don't know. I'm sure the geography really doesn't make sense, but maybe it does. I don't know.
Yeah,
it seemed like they had tried to pay some attention to detail like that.
Yeah,
roads and things.
Yeah, and Yeah, I enjoyed the location. CHiPs may not have been a critical favorite, and today it's not great art, but it's entertaining, and I think it does what it wants to do really well.
If you go to it with the eye of, is this a quality piece of storytelling,
Yeah.
or, with that critical mind, then no, it's not very successful.
Yeah.
Although, I mean, they did a decent job of connecting all these sort of threads, or making almost like there's one time where, like when they introduce, I think, Larry Linville and the Larrys, like John and Ponch ride past that backyard that's a fenced-in backyard, and then the camera shifts over there. And I'm not going to say it's Altman-esque, but it was kind of like that same notion of like, oh, this is going on right over here.
Yeah.
But for being just this entertainment and sort of this positive view of Southern California culture and this positive view of the police,
Yeah.
I think it's pretty darn successful at that.
Yeah, and I've seen, like, after watching some of the other episodes, I think I'd made a comment to you that you can see, like, it's geared towards younger viewers in a sense, or
Yeah.
because a lot of times that they bring up, well, even like the gentle lecturing of John, like a lot of it's a little moralizing,
Right.
and they do sort of explain the stories. The stories aren't complex at all, but they do explain these moral lessons very clearly, and they do. It definitely seems geared towards a family or a younger audience. It's intended to draw in like kids and stuff like that.
Yeah, but I think that
Yeah, I mean,
It
one
works.
might call it lowest common denominator. I mean, I'm sure people attacked it for that, but
yeah,
there's some of that, but it holds up a lot better, and it's not Hill Street Blues,
no,
or even like some less gritty cop shows of its time, but it captures its time and era and place a lot better than probably a lot of other shows. Partly because of the location shooting, and partly because they've got Erik Estrada. He's sort of a punchline now, but he's very charismatic, and it's easy to see why he became a TV star. And they've got car chases and professionally shot, and it's well produced.
in the sense of it's a cop show not showing really drastic crimes. You could criticize it for that, but in a way, I'm not going to say it's a realistic show, but in a way it is, in the sense that it's like probably closer to a lot of people's everyday lives. That is just stuff going on,
Yeah,
and people have these minor calamities.
right. Well,
I mean, the car wrecks are obviously more dramatic than most car wrecks.
yeah,
If there were cars flipping over every day on the LA freeway, the traffic would be even worse than it
yeah,
is.
right.
I mean, that because you hear about that kind of accident in real life, and it stops everything for hours.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
Just
and
anywhere.
And the community policing aspect of it. I mean, like
Yeah.
John is taking it to an extreme, maybe, but I mean, this series shows the cops sort of getting involved in stories in the community,
Yeah.
and so it's, I mean, for one thing, it finds a way to not just have them driving around on the freeway,
Right.
every episode or
Yeah.
all episode, but there's a lot of stuff going on, and I'm okay with the fact that they're not stopping,
Drug
more
dealers.
violent
Yeah.
criminals and everything like every episode. I mean, they're kind of doing their thing. I mean, they're motorcycle cops.
Yeah.
To some extent, you expect them to be going after people doing insurance scams or vehicular related crimes and everything. So now, having said that, 6 seasons of that might have been a little much.
Right.
And if you're not into the disco music and sort of the soundtrack of the show, it might wear thin after a while because that is all over the place.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm generally just like that. I'm not necessarily into that kind of music, but I think it really worked on the show really well. The guy doing the not the theme song, but the other music is Alan Silvestri, who's like a big time movie composer now. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, they've got some definite like motifs and like chase music and stuff.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, a sort of emotional
yeah,
kind of thing. It's still fast, but
yeah.
da, da, da. Yeah,
Yeah, it all makes for an entertaining package. I mean, yeah, we can sort of look back and roller disco is kind of what caught my eye, but
yeah,
and the roller skating dates the episode a little bit, and
Sure.
the music and the whole concept is, like I said, it's of its era. But what's wrong with that? Sometimes I'm fine with that. And
Yeah.
actually, one of the reasons we're doing this show, I think, is because of things like that. And
right.
it was I had a lot of fun revisiting this series.
Yeah, and I think it captured a lot of the things we were hoping to talk about with the podcast, like all in these 2 episodes,
Right.
between this being of its era and the weird celebrity, and
Right.
a kind of show they don't necessarily make anymore. I mean, you have a lot of police procedurals, but they're not as upbeat, I guess. As this.
Right. If you're looking for if you tell somebody like what was TV like in the mid '70s or late '70s to early '80s, right in this time period, and this is smack in the middle of that 1979. This is the kind of thing that would kind of epitomize what people would think of that. I mean, this is not just the quintessential episode of CHiPs, but it's one of the quintessential episodes of that era, I would say. This is an example of how you think TV would be. Maybe all TV, of course, it wasn't like that.
No.
But this kind of brings in a lot of it. And, I mean, even sort of the treatment of women and stuff that we talked about. I mean, the stuff that was going on with Charlie's Angels and Three's Company and other shows. You had a milder example of that in this episode. A lot of the trends, the use of B-list celebrities to fill out an episode.
Here's a deep thought. Do you think the upbeat nature of CHiPs was predicting the more positive attitude of the 80s?
So, like, contrasting, like say, stuff
Sort
like
of,
Kojak or something.
Yeah, well, I mean, the 70s are, I mean, that's kind of a dark decade when you
Yes.
think about it. I mean, there's a lot of, like, Nixon and the sort of the decline of peace and love. And,
Right. So
you know, the stuff like New York becoming kind of a cesspool, and although that was in the 80s too. But you know, it's just a lot of riots and stuff. It just, you don't necessarily look on it as a positive time in
Right.
America.
No.
And you don't necessarily look on the 80s in retrospect as a positive time, but it had a more positive attitude, I think.
Right. So you're wondering
It was a new, what was Reagan's thing?
Morning in America.
New Morning in America.
Right.
Yeah.
An actor from
Right.
California
Right.
who is known for his optimism
Yeah.
and, belief in the his stated belief in the potential of America, not the negative aspects of it.
Right.
Yeah, you might have something there. This might be a great transition show, whether intentional or not. It sort of transitioned America into the 80s.
Maybe Rick Rosner is a pseudonym for Ronald Reagan.
That's why he doesn't have more credits.
Yeah, that's why
During the 80s.
there was a decline on the quality of the series as it went on.
Yeah, Reagan
Like Larry Wilcox was really mad about that. He's like, "That guy doesn't have any time for us anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
He's always in Washington."
He was blowing it off, or worse, he had Nancy Reagan's astrologer was giving script input by later years, and that's when the show really started to go
Ron
downhill.
Reagan Jr. came in for an episode.
Yeah, it just couldn't hold up.
Yeah.
Well, you might be onto something there. You might
thought.
not, but it's an interesting theory. I think there probably is something to that, though.
Any academics listening want to take that and run with it?
Yeah, feel free.
Write a thesis on it.
Yes.
Just to footnote us.
Yeah. Footnote us, and then maybe we'll.
Hopefully, the MLA has come up with standards for referencing podcasts by now.
Yeah, one would hope. Yeah, and eventually, once you put it together, we can read it on the podcast, and we'll put some disco music in the background, and we'll tie it all together.
Right.
So, is there anything else interesting that we should mention about roller disco? I think there's a lot happened here, and a lot didn't. Overall, I guess
Oh, well, just to say that, Larry Storch Larry Linville and Larry Storch got caught.
Yeah, you should. Yes, let's wrap that
in
up.
an accident that involved them running into a telephone pole and the telephone pole flipping out of its
Yeah, it was
out of the dirt.
quite a collision.
Now, this accident apparently cured Larry Linville's whiplash, but gave Franco whiplash.
Yeah,
And then they were really both mad at each other.
yeah. So they were squabbling.
Yeah, Larry Linville's anger seemed misplaced. Like I don't know what he was mad about.
Yeah,
Franco had a right to be mad. He had been dragged into all this crap.
right. He didn't really.
Really, all he wanted, as he mentioned before. So the first time we see them, he's got a can of beer while they're driving, an open container.
Yeah,
Another time they're out there and he's questioning the whole strategy because he gets thirsty and where can you find a market on the freeway?
yeah.
And in this last scene, I don't know if he's dazed from the accident, but he seemed drunk. But it might just be the accident.
Could be.
it
So,
was
yeah,
quite an
your theory is that he's and
He seemed maybe it's just his. I don't know.
I think
Larry
you might be-
Storch being Larry Storch.
you might be onto something there.
Yeah.
Although if the traffic is the traffic being what it is, maybe he is really worried about being really thirsty,
Right.
stuck in traffic on the freeway. But yeah, there's a little desperation the way he asks about that. So
Yeah.
So those two are like bickering.
Yeah.
Not so much upset about getting caught. They're not really upset at the cops. They're upset at each other as they get carted off after having been busted.
And Franco's going to sue him, Larry Linville.
Yeah, that was an amusing little story, but it didn't necessarily need to be this.
Across 2 episodes.
Yeah. I'm reluctant to say this should have been a 1-part episode because they would have cut some of the Skating with the Stars stuff.
Right.
It really should have been a full episode with just the Skating with the Stars and setting up that with the Leif Garrett, and then save the Fred Williamson and Jim Brown stuff and the Larry Storch stuff, combine that in another episode.
Okay.
That's maybe what I would do.
How about 1 episode that contains all the story in this, and then 1 episode that's just the roller disco?
There you got it. I would easily sign on for that.
Right. Okay. Maybe when they reboot CHiPs.
Yeah, they should start with a roller disco episode and work
They're
backwards.
making a movie.
Is it going to be a period piece?
I don't know. All I know is that it's apparently an auteur creation of Dax Shepard.
Uh-oh. I got a bad feeling about this.
So, and Dax Shepard and Michael Pena are Larry and Ponch, or John and Ponch. There are a lot of Larrys in this episode.
Yeah. I don't.
Surprisingly, Dax Shepard got Kristen Bell to be in it.
Well,
I mean, I don't know how he worked out getting his wife.
so she's going to be the
I don't
Randy
know.
X character.
Yeah, I don't know. I just saw her listed in it.
I don't look forward to this at all.
So I don't know if it's going to be a comedy. It sounds like it's going to be a comedy.
I'm sure it will be.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you go full on spoof,
Right. Like
how are
the
you going to do
Brady
it?
Bunch.
And what's the point of doing it if it's not? You know, we've just been talking about how of its era it is and how
Right.
it sums up the era. So why bother if you're not going to try to recapture that era?
Yeah.
And really, why bother trying to recapture that era? Just put on season 3 of CHiPs and watch this.
Right.
You're there.
But I will say the fact that the star is also writing and directing it makes it sound like it's a love letter
A love letter
to the show. You know,
Yeah.
like if
His
you
heart
were
is
just
in the right place.
if you were
think?
just in it,
Yeah.
I wouldn't. I would be even more suspect of it.
Right. So you think he probably loves the show and maybe wants to that it's a passion project.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Could be. I wish him all the best.
Right. If they don't get a cameo by Robert Pine,
The whole thing's worthless.
yeah, forget it. I don't care. Erik Estrada. I don't care if he shows up. I mean, he should.
do with-
Those guys should too. But
Yeah.
they're missing an opportunity. Like maybe Robert Pine will be the head of. Maybe they're not John and Ponch. Maybe they're someone else. and he's like the commander of the entire California Highway Patrol.
Yeah. Well, apparently they did do a reunion movie, at least one, right?
Oh yeah, like in the early '90s.
Yeah. Which I don't
Yeah.
don't have any memory of that, but
No, I know that it happened.
yeah, that's enough.
Yeah.
I'm sure the magic was gone by that
Right.
point.
They went to a grunge show.
Yeah. They're all just not the same.
Like John was conflicted. He's like, well, their fashion that makes sense to me,
Yeah. You're right.
but I still don't like this music.
Yeah.
It's too loud.
Poor John.
Right.
A man of his era and out of his era simultaneously.
Yep.
John Baker.
All right. Be careful out there.
That's right.
It's the wrong show.
This episode brought to you by the CHP's 37th annual roller disco. Still rolling, still grooving, still featuring Adam Rich. This episode also brought to you by Actors and Other People for Animals. Join us for our next event where you can meet actors like Robert Mandan and other people like Marcia, a cashier at Ralph's and mother of 3. This episode also brought to you by Franco's Freeway Markets, for when you get thirsty on the freeway, featuring Lowenbrow. Join us next time for another exciting episode of Battle of the Network shows. Learn more, leave feedback, and suggest future episodes at battleofthenetworkshows.com. Follow us on Twitter at BATNetShows and like our Facebook page, facebook.com/Battle of the Network Shows.